So I was saying that in thinking about what's the aim of the fourth way, what's the aim of the work? Where do you start and where is it supposed to lead you? And I have always thought of it that it's supposed to lead you, the intent of the fourth way is to lead you to awakening to higher consciousness. Or as the fourth way would say, to lead you to the awakening of higher centers. That's the term they use. But that Gurdjieff says more than once, the aim of the work is to lead a man to conscience. And so I put that in the context of that conscience is that perhaps the deepest level of consciousness is the realization that you are asleep. The realization that this I that you had taken to be yourself is not consciousness. And in this respect, it is an aspect of consciousness itself, that consciousness and conscience are not separate phenomena. And that conscience does not refer just to the emotional center. It refers to what is seen by consciousness, and then how the emotional center reacts to that, which is where the pangs of the discomfort of conscience comes from. It's like the reflection in the mirror is unpleasant to see.
So according to this, the aim of the fourth way work is to realize that we are asleep?
Yes, that's what I believe he's saying. And I would say that until you verify that, the other part, or the expanded part of that aim, which is to awaken, can't be approached properly, because you would be operating from the wrong basis. And that would be essentially our sense of I trying to awaken, trying to become conscious, which is that's not what it is. In my experience, that's not what it is. That's not what it's about. So that's why I presented it that way. But what about you? So how have you understood conscience?
Well, I want to touch on what you said, because I think it's important to verify as we start doing the fourth way work. Actually, from the beginning, we are instructed that we have illusions. We have some illusions about ourselves, and the illusion of being awake, the illusion of having will, the illusion of being integrated like as one, the illusion of unity.
Yes.
And so it seems like from the start it's important to be open to the possibility that actually we don't possess this quality, will, ability to do, conscious individuality, and being awake. So that's important. And I totally agree with you that on the path, walking the path, one needs to be confronted with one's sleep, and one will be horrified.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that this is some stage of the path. It's not the end of the path. But in terms of conscience, I was understanding conscience as an emotional aspect of consciousness, as actually still being one, somehow consciousness and conscience. And I was looking at conscience as some emotional understanding of what is right for me to do or be in the context of my life. So when I hear Gurdjieff saying that the aim of the work is to awaken conscience, basically what's happening in the world is that people are hurting each other and creating suffering for each other, killing each other, torturing each other, and the earth. So I think true conscience is connected to the realization that we are all children of our commonly Father, and we are all part of this God soup, and then as in the Quran they will say, wherever you turn your eye, there is the face of Allah. Wherever your eye falls, there is the face of God. And see, I think in Upanishad something, see all beings in the self, or see all beings in God, and God in all beings. So with with this realization, then I know that this isn't me. So if I hurt him, if I lie to them, if I cheat them, if I take advantage of them, I'm doing it to me, and it's like pangs of conscience. So it's almost like, yeah, my conscience is aligned with that we are all one, or children of, we are brothers here. So then if this is awakened, then I cannot operate as it was before. I still don't think that this is the final product.
Oh, no, do I. That's why I said I was surprised actually to re-encounter him saying that, but I understood it then and understand it now. It is like the first peak of the mountain range, first significant peak, and that it relates to something else which Uspensky talked about, which is if there's not a proper division established in yourself between I and Uspensky, it's not what Uspensky likes, it's not what Uspensky's trying to do. This realize, and he's speaking about what the fourth way would call real I, or at least an observing I, a more impartial, less identified part of ourselves that is seeing the rest and seeing all of it, what we would consider the good and the bad, what we like and what we dislike, and reaching that peak of recognizing that. Because you can also say conscience is the emotional recognition of truth. In the moment you can know if someone's lying to you. You can know if you're being calmed. You can know if you're hesitant to make that decision, you're hesitant to do that thing, you kind of know. And you know, Socrates would define it as his voice of conscience, he called it, never told him what to do. It always told him what not to do. He would be on the verge of doing something or saying something, and this little sort of voice said, no, that's not right. That's not emotional truth for you. Don't do that. So I don't think we're saying different things. Do you?
Let's see. I mean, I also look at conscience as the needle of the inner compass in relation to other people, or in relation to relations.
And what about in relation to awakening? This is another thing about, this isn't for the weak-hearted, the fourth way. Do you know, we're talking about, ultimately what some would call God consciousness. Objective, like the highest of the high, right? And so where would you say this conscience, as we're talking about it, fits into that spectrum of that larger?
I resonate with this actually, that it's in connection not just with people, like when I'm about to act. Basically, conscience will stir and will give us pangs when we are starting to act from a sense of separation. Like take advantage, hurtful, I'm better, I'm something, acting as if we are not made of the same stuff. But I totally agree with you. I think this conscience in connection with one's aim. So if I start engaging in certain behaviors, activities, or I don't know, getting off track, I think if conscience will like, hey dude, what are you doing? You know, will nag us back to be on track. You know, like on a highway, when you drive on highway in the night, and then if you fall asleep, you hit the markers, the dividers, and it goes like
Yes.
and
no, it's a lovely,
then you
simple analogy.
Wake up, come back, stay on
something
track.
starts to indicate, yes.
But my readings from going now for the third time, I think, the Beelzebub's Tales, which is Gurdjieff's encoded cryptic masterpiece. He was saying there that this awakening and us becoming instead of being an acorn and becoming a oak tree, it is not for our selfish purposes. I mean, it will benefit the Peter or Mihai. It will benefit in a way that there will be harmony and more peace, and anyway, it was a better life, much better life. But Gurdjieff was saying that all of this is to now be capable to help our commonly Father.
Well, and we've talked about this a little bit, and that's why we're having these conversations. Is for that we want to align ourselves with that more consciously, more intentionally, more purposefully. And you're right that, you know, in the beginning, I think it's safe to say for most people, it's a personal thing. I want, maybe I'm not happy with my life, or I'm suffering, or I'm really drawn to this idea of higher consciousness. It resonates with me. I just know it's true. As I think was your experience and mine, and many people when they first read the books by Ouspensky, and they were saying these things. And in those days, Zen and Buddhism and non-duality and Advaita, all these things, they weren't as prevalent in the literature back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They were starting to be, but and so a lot of people encountered this. So they were attracted to this higher. And then it's, okay, so now, Mihai, we have this knowledge. We have a very good mastery of this knowledge. We understand its value in terms of trying to be more conscious, understanding what it means to be asleep, to be psychologically asleep. And so, okay, now how can we be of service? How can we be of benefit? As opposed to, okay, now I'm just going to settle into my life and try to be more awake more often. No harm there, but there's more. And I was thinking this on my drive over here. I know it's possible to be more awake, not like in degrees. It's possible to be more awake more often. And then after that, it's possible to be even more awake and even more often. Because even though we can understand all of this, it doesn't mean we're there. We're at a certain peak. But so what does that mean? And to me, it's directly connected to what we're talking about. Being of service in some fashion. And that's why I started writing books. It wasn't to toot my own horn. It was the feeling, how can I now, I've left this school, and it seemed to me that the idea of serving in a higher way that we're talking about, at least outside of the school, didn't exist. And I felt that it was important, and so so that's why I started writing.
Well, I remember that at some point after I left the school,
can I finish one thought
yes.
that came back to me real quick, which is about this idea, it is possible to be more awake more often. This is powerful to me. And so I just want to reiterate that it's connected also with helping or being of assistance to others who want to do the same. Start on that road or pick up from where they were on that road and keep going. That's what I see happens. It's easy to go along, even reach a nice view. You're driving along the road, it says viewing point, you can pull off.
Scenic.
A scenic view, yeah, and you can do that in this work too. You can pull off at a scenic view and stay there and camp there. And you can go back down the hill, and then you just always come back to that point. But you never necessarily keep. So what does it mean to keep going? Where do you go? And this is where we're really heading into uncharted territory. It's not easy, and can be bewildering even. Yes.
This reminds me of Uspensky said this, like something like you must move. You must move from the place where you are.
Yes, and I was thinking about this in relation to effort.
Mm.
You know, this idea that in the non-dual teachings, a lot of them say, no, you don't. Effort. It's not. Not about effort. It's effortless. Awareness, presence, is effortless, which is true. However, I was thinking, driving it over here. As long as we're in a body, and in a mind, as long as we're inhabiting four centers, as the fourth way says, there's going to be resistance. There's going to be momentums. There's going to be diversions and distractions. There's going to be all sorts of things calling to consciousness, saying in its own way, please identify with me.
Mm-hmm.
Please
Mm-hmm.
give me identity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to continue till the last moment, I'm sure.
Mm.
And sometimes it accelerates. Sometimes there's greater pull, greater lure from the lower centers, from the body and from the mind. Yes, this is tricky waters. And I would say that it gets more and more clear and more simple, and at the same time more and more, what's a good word? You have to use all of your knowledge and all of your understanding and embrace it with your own intuition. Because no one is having the same experience, I think, when they become conscious and when they awaken or become whatever you want to call it. It's never the same for each being. Even though it is the same. It seems like a contradiction. It's not a contradiction. Because no one's in the same body. No one's in the same mind. No one's in the same life experiences. No one's in the same suffering. But what's passing through that, if you want to say it's all the same consciousness, but it's going through a different, in each case it's passing through a different gauntlet.
Well, after I left the school, I encountered I did some St. Francis or something like that, and I was starting to work in mental health with kids. They were very...
You mean Francis of Assisi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I encountered this prayer which touched me. I was never into prayer. But this thing like God, something like make me an instrument of, basically be an instrument of God.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the same thing, like to be conscious enough in order to be able to be helpful to our commonly father or mother. I don't want to be patriarchal, because it's not male. God is not male. So another simple way to help me, strengthen me, or make me wise, or to be able to assist in God's work, to be an instrument of God's peace, be an instrument of God's love. Anyway, so I would go to work because it was an edgy place there, and somehow that was giving me some, also I remember Rodney Collin, a prominent fourth way teacher. I read somewhere that he was saying that if anybody becomes overall more conscious, sooner or later they are going to be involved in some way of assisting others in some way, or assisting something, helping. There's in some way or another, and we're both studying David Hawkins, and he outlines, like, some people they have a certain level of consciousness, and they decide to teach, to share this, and some other people they decide to go to Africa and build some schools for people, or to drill fountains so there's water, or to protect the abused women, and some people they are just in a cave by themselves, but they are very high level of being, so just their very presence, it nourishes the whole body of humanity and balances the extreme negativity and the sense of separation. So even he will go so much, David Hawkins, to say that just the existence of such people blocks for some president to press the atomic button in some mysterious way.
In fact, I've just been rereading one of his books. I think it's one of his later books, and it's called Letting Go.
The last book, yeah.
The Way of Surrender, or something like this. It's kind of like this, and what it's on the one hand saying, please make me an instrument, render me just a good instrument. Yeah. I realize I don't really have anything without that. That nothing would ever match that. For my life to become and my person to become an instrument, nothing could ever match that. So, and I long for that kind of thing. And then the opposite it is just yielding completely, which comes to the same thing, surrendering to your life, to your fate, you could say, to your suffering, and embracing it all consciously, without imposing false intention on it. Because we can imagine, well, I'd like to help them.
Yeah.
But no, and then again it comes back to be of service in what way, and be in service to what, to whom and to what. I could be of service to the underprivileged children in a third world country. Yes, that'd be lovely. I could also be of service to someone who is genuinely interested in transcending themselves, going through self-transformation, conscious self-transformation.
I think this is the type of service. I think this, as one becomes more conscious, and if one doesn't have some distortions in the teaching paths one has followed, there's one's destiny. It's not like, oh, what shall I do? How shall I serve?
Yes.
It just comes, and some have a certain configuration, and maybe from past life or whatever. There's configuration to be a teacher. Some is just wants to be an emanator of love, and some, David Hawkins was saying, like, you go to a cashier, and everybody's mechanical and not acknowledging the cashier, and to be like, to see the
cashier,
to see see the being, to see the presence, the divine underneath the cashier, and to smile, or to say hello genuinely. And he was saying that he would sometimes do this to cashiers, and the cashiers would be shocked because nobody was looking at them, nobody was noticing them. Also, if I can say something here, this in the fourth way, this idea that there's the earth, part of this ray of creation, and there's organic life on earth, with all the animals and plants and humans. And then within this organic life there's the humans, like the body of humanity. I like this. So like humanity not as like millions and billions of people, but as one body. Like all humans that ever existed, from one angle, is one human. I once saw that, like how my father and my grandfather and all of these, for me it seems like 70 years passed, but from a bigger scale.
You're talking about like the long body of humanity.
Body of my ancestors, and like me and my dad and my future kid and everybody is just one man updating itself. Anyway, so body of humanity, and as we can see, humanity overall is asleep.
As the individuals are.
As the body of humanity, the overall level of consciousness, collective of consciousness is low, and globally, humanity is asleep, is in separation, and what's happening on the news, it's evident proof of that. So a man who becomes more conscious becomes like a white cell in the blood. White cell, if I'm not mistaken, is that like some type of cell which is helping to bring balance, to restore, to heal. So from one angle, the white cell is really like is doing the work of bringing the inner body and the cells to balance, harmony and well-being, to restore to the Tao. So in some way,
I thought you were going to say that someone who awakens is the consciousness of humanity.
I agree with that too.
Yes. So that's also interesting.
The conscious cell. It's a conscious cell in the body.
Yes, if you want to think of it as a cell.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. You know, I became a psychotherapist. I had no idea that that's what I want to do. I didn't even know what that means when I was from my country of origin, and also later, as I found out about psychology and psychotherapy, I thought it's like bullshit. So I had rejection towards it. But anyway, then I came to this because it seemed like I tried all kind of jobs. Did real estate investment, as a bar manager. I was selling books. I was an event coordinator. Anyway, different stuff like that. And they were all like, it just felt so wrong. And then I don't know, I found a ad where like to work with some kids that were deeply wounded and be a mentor, very low money. And it was actually dangerous because I actually got punched a few times and beat a few times. But anyway, I went there and I just loved it. It just felt so right. I was like, oh my God, it's so much better. It's just, at the end of the day, I will feel so fulfilled and like intense. It was good. And then as I was there, I saw there were these people who were called therapists, psychotherapists. I was like, this is interesting. And it took me a few years to figure out that, that might be the best use of Mihai here. So some kind of job that is aligned, to align money, job, career with my alignment, my heart, But, initially, I wasn't doing it because I wasn't aware I was compassionate or I wanted to help others. I was actually still pretty selfish and self-absorbed, but I was deeply interested in the inner workings of the mind and of the heart, and I was deeply interested in the process of inner work and awakening. So I saw psychotherapy as a way to assist other people in the process of inner work. So for me, it was more like a nerdy, geeky, to kind of get in their minds and hearts. I got tired of just doing it on my own, so I wanted to do that. But only later, somehow I felt like my compassion or love or other qualities started to grow somehow. But I never did it initially because, I want to help people, I want to assist people, I want to save people. It was more like, hey, this is very deeply interesting to me and I want to go there. Was no choice. I had no choice. It was just happening. Like you with writing.
Yes, I can say kind of similar. It was like I didn't have a choice. But I did it for several reasons, and I did it for two main reasons, I think I can say. Apart from the fact that it was kind of inevitable, because I've always been writing, but I know the value as soon as you try to explain something you understand to somebody else, automatically are revealed the gaps in your understanding, and also new intuition pointing to new directions in that same understanding or beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like it's a ladder that climbs itself in a strange way, that by explaining things, it can be anything. It can be, if you know how to paint, you teach someone how to paint, you will discover new things about painting for yourself, yes? And to me this has always been true with the fourth way and the system and the idea of teaching in order to further expand and deepen one's own understanding. At the same time, it's a value to other people, but it's a value to you as well. And so my writings came from that. And then, in addition, what we've been talking about earlier, about I understand that this is not a one-man show. It's not just for me. How can I be an instrument? How can I be of help? How could I share my understanding and my being with someone or with people who might be able to benefit from it exactly the way I have benefited from it in relation to other people who were at a higher peak, who explained to me and helped me and showed me how to climb up, to get. So, yes, and to say again, that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing here. That's why I talk to you now and do these videos and whatnot, to see where might this lead. This is very interesting, because I must say for a while there, I felt like I was sort of coasting. I was on a plateau, and that's what I said earlier. I know it's possible to be more awake. Like even as we're having this conversation, it's actually possible to be more awake during this conversation more often. And this is true of our whole life and everything. So what would that mean? What does that mean relative to trying to help other people? I know that someone who helps somebody else awaken or be more awake is pushed by that. Done in the right spirit, of course. Of course. Always in the right spirit. Not to be not just to be showing off, or not to just be controlling, or not to be seen as a figurehead for its own sake, all that, no.
Yeah.
But the genuine integrity of, even you could use the analogy, you stand and you see someone's drowning, and you see they don't want to be. And so, how might you extend your hand or something?
Yeah, I mean, I sense that as we are more conscious, and then the sense of separation is thinning out, then we are feeling other people suffering, and we have a conscious automatic compassion and wishing to help, which I think this is implanted in us from our commonly Father.
And it does seem related to conscience.
Yeah.
Yes, which is where we started.